Now we are on air. Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to Out of Character. I'm your host, the Faulty GM, and today is a very special day. It is the very first game that I'm going to be running, not only in my setting of Sunder, but the very first campaign game I'll be running on my channel. So with me are three beautiful gentlemen and a lady.
Somewhere.
And she'll be coming along shortly. But yeah, so for now, I would like all of you gentlemen to introduce yourselves. If you have a channel, go ahead and plug it. And you don't really need to explain your character. We will get into it when we get into it. All right, so let's start with Marquise.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Marquise Hardis, the bold and the beautiful stereotypical Strider. More importantly, I am 1/3 of a point of inspiration. We are a very small nonprofit third-party supplement producing group for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. You can check us out on pointinspiration.com, facebook.com/pointinspiration. I'm very happy to be here. I've been talking to Miles a long time for this campaign, and I'm looking forward to playing. So thank you, dude, and look excited for it.
All right, Chris, you can go ahead.
All right. My name's Chris. That's about all there is to it. I don't have a channel, so
Okay.
I don't know what you want from me.
All right. So last but not least, Ethereal, go ahead.
Greetings, one and all, once again. The interwebs, I am back and I'm gaming again. It is a masterful individual known only as Ethereal, and I am here to game in a game I've been waiting on for ages, a campaign finally. I cannot believe that I'm actually in this campaign with none other than stereotypical Strider himself. It's the first time I'm actually playing alongside of him rather than one of us running a game, so I'm interested to see very much how much this feedback is going to go. I love the witty banter, and I cannot wait for it. I don't have a channel to plug at this moment. Hopefully sometime soon I'll be getting Hoorah Gaming up and running once again. But until then, I'll just be piggybacking off of Point of Inspiration.
All right, guys. So like I said, we do have one more person coming, but I'll have her introduce herself later, probably during the closing. But for now, let's oh, there she is. She's
Sorry,
right
guys.
All right. So go ahead, Mouse. Just introduce yourself. Plug anything you want to plug, and we will get started.
Oh, hi, I'm Mouse. My character's name is Wimnatin. Sorry, I'm kind of like trying to get everything together last minute. So I think I already talked about my character during the that thing a while ago, didn't I?
Yeah, so don't worry about it. Yeah, so nobody really needs to go over and explain the character. We'll get into it as we go along. But all right, everybody. So let's go ahead and get started. So when you are having a very, very familiar dream, and it is a dream that you hate. It is a dream that you haven't had in a long time, but you know it as soon as it happens. You're running through the forest, and you can hear them behind you. You're breathing heavy, and you're trying to make your way. You're being as careful as you can, but moving as quickly as possible. Your reflexes push to their very limits as you try to jump over twigs and loose roots, and you can hear them, the wolves. They're chasing you, and they're howling, and they're barking, and you're getting closer, and you can see the lights of the village. But as soon as you turn a corner, there it is, the black wolf, staring you, just looking at you. And then as it charges, with nowhere for you to go, the wolves behind you, the wolves in front, you wake up, and you start sweating. And you hear a knocking at your door, just doof, 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 doof. And you just hear, Mr. Wen? Mr. Wen, are you awake?
Wen rises from his bedroll very, very slowly He is covered in sweat. A very familiar chill runs through his spine, and he grabs the blanket of his bedroll just to make sure it's not the autumn leaves of his dream. And when he feels the softness of it and not the crunch of leaves and detritus of the forest, he realizes the black wolf is not here. He is not being chased, but something is chasing him nonetheless. He stands up hearing the knocking at the door. He hears the voice. He rubs the bridge of his nose. He massages his temple for just a moment. And then he walks to the door. And in a very low voice, putting his face almost to it, he says, "It is I."
Ah, yes, Mr. Wen. It's Joseph. The mayor would like a message or a word. A word. The mayor would like a word with you, Mr. Wen. Just whenever you're ready. Yeah. I'll go grab the others. And with that, you can hear the scuttling of the man as he takes off. But each of you guys, so Argo, Val, Wen, you guys have all gotten a message from this man, Joseph, as he has gone around and told you that the mayor would like a word. Now, you guys probably know what it's about. Today is your day on shift for guard duty. So the town of Vomica is very small, maybe about 300 people in it in total, and everybody works. So the problem with that is that there is no active guard, and so everybody has to take a shift doing guard duty, and you all know that today is your turn. So the mayor probably wants to go over things due to the festival today, but you all pretty much get the message. Does any of you do anything before you take off to go to the mayor's office?
If my dad's around, I'll probably let him know. Otherwise, I just go.
Yeah. So your dad is actually on his way back. He has made a last-minute trip out, and he is on his way back. So he's actually not there right now.
Okay.
Anybody else? No? Yes?
Well, Val will make sure to grab all of his gear. Tattered scales. Bit of an old secondhand shield. Rapier at his hip.
All right. So when you guys go, you all kind of meet up at... It doesn't really look like a town building or like an official government building. It's more like the only house that is in the middle of the town that no one actually lives in. So when you guys walk into this house, there's a few offices set up. You can see that there's kind of a place for a reception, but more or less it's more so used as kind of a waiting room for all the people who have problems. And as you kind of sit down, you can kind of hear screaming coming, and not like the sort of screaming that's like somebody in pain, but someone yelling at someone. And you know who the voice belongs to instantly, as he's kind of a well-known individual, and his name is Hoban. And you can just hear him screaming at the mayor, and he's just saying, "This is my last cow. I only have about 4 left. You can't let this stand." And you can hear like hushed whispers as they're trying to calm him down. And you just see someone kind of squeeze out of the room and shut the door behind them. And it is Mr. Joseph. And he goes, "Ah, you are all here. Oh, thank God." And he kind of just looks behind him and he just goes, the mayor will be right with you. Is there anything I can get you? Water? Alcohol? Anything?
Wynn doesn't ask for anything. When he's sitting there, he looks almost completely out of it. As the gravedigger, essentially, of this entire town, he was awake primarily only at nights. His friends are pretty much tombstones, the occasional guard who goes around, and the annoying-ass kid who tries to break into the grave at the middle of the night to ruin everything. And so being up at this time of day, he simply stares off into the distance, hearing the yelling and the questions and feeling his headache just getting a little bit heavier.
So Joseph kind of kind of picks up on this, and he just pours you a glass of water and just hands it to you. And he kind of just looks around to see if anybody else needs anything. And he goes back to the door and he kind of knocks on it to try to let them know that you guys are here. And the shouting match goes on for a little bit longer, and eventually you guys see a very tall, what you would know as a high elf or a sky elf kind of come in. And you all know him as Sovereignkin. And he is kind of the leader of the town, even though he's not the mayor. He's extremely well respected, but because of how old he is, he really doesn't want to be the mayor at all, and he keeps allowing other people to take the role, even though most people come to him for their problems. And he looks at all of you, and he just kind of straightens himself up and goes, "Ah, you all must be here to be debriefed. Is that correct?"
Val would nod his head in agreement.
Yes. So, and he kind of can hear Hoban shouting and just kind of nods his head and goes, "Well, why don't we speed this along? I'm sure you all have tasks to perform before the day's end. So," and he goes, "if you would, Mr. Joshua." And Joshua kind of like nods his head repeatedly and just opens the door. And again, Hoban's screaming just kind of goes in, and you just hear him goes, "There is a beast eating, there is a beast eating my cows, and I need you to send someone to take care of it." And the mayor just goes, "Hoban, for the last time, there is a festival tonight. I cannot spare even a single person to go investigate this. You know this, especially after what happened last year. The best I can do is send someone tomorrow. It can't be that bad to send someone tomorrow." And Hoban, as he kind of hears the door open, kind of just turns and looks at all of you. And you all know this. He's a halfling who is the opposite of what most halfling are. He's extremely angry and very rude often. And he just looks all of you over, and he looks directly at a Sovereignkin and just goes, "And you agree with this, Sovereign? You say you say that the last of our cows should be devoured by some beast, all because of a festival." And Sovereign just kind of puts his hands up and he says, "Look, Hoban, I understand that your cows are not just important to you, but they are also important to the town. You provide all the food, and the cows are all the meat that we have to eat on. They also provide our jerky, they provide our milk. We all understand. Come the next harvest season, trust me, we will all feel the results of this effect. But Mayor is right. Last year, half the town burned down because some drunken idiot accidentally knocked over a candle in the wrong place because we didn't have enough guards. This year, that is the last thing we need. We don't need half the town to burn because half the guards are out looking for some monster that's eating your cows." And Hoban kind of looks at you guys as like a latched-it effort to kind of get some help. Do any of you guys say anything in support of Hoban?
Wynn looks him in the face, locks eyes with him, and then takes a sip of his water and says nothing. He buries bodies. He doesn't make bodies.
So Hoban just kind of like shakes his head and goes, "Fine, I'll deal with it myself." And he just pushes past all of you guys and walks out of the building. And you can see the mayor just like visibly relax. And he goes, "Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Sovereign. Now, please, can you all just come in and close the door?" And Joshua kind of like scoots you guys in and then closes the door behind you guys. Now, as you all know, you are all have been chosen from the lottery this year to work during the festival. Now, I don't have to remind you that there will only be a handful of you. I've already informed the others of what they have to do. Now, what I would like is if you can all maintain the perimeter of the actual festival. I have everybody else working the gates and doing all the other stuff, but you all in particular, I would like to just monitor the actual festival itself. Just make sure nobody does anything that'll. We just don't need another last year. The town can't survive being rebuilt again. So, yes, that is all I have to say for today. If you could just go out, maybe enjoy yourself, but don't get too drunk. Don't get too involved. Do you understand? Am I making myself clear?
Perfectly, sir.
Good. Oh God. So, for the rest of the day, what I would like you to do is just go around, assist anybody that needs help with their stalls, and likewise, just prepare yourself for tonight. I've been told that it's been about 20 years, but we're having other villages, other towns are going to be here. It'll be one of the biggest festivals we've had in a very, very long time. So just keep your eyes open. Yes. And he just kind of shakes his head and tries to, lock eyes with each of you, even though it's not really for as long as it probably should have been. And he just tries to get an affirmative from each of you guys.
You got it, Mayor.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yes, thank you. You were all dismissed. Okay, please go on about your business. All right. So, with that being said, does anybody have anything that they would like to do before tonight's events?
Knowing that he's going to be spending the night not actually doing anything productive, when we return back to his small hovel, he will go back to sleep. But before he does, he's going to perform a quick ritual to himself. It's something he does every single day. Half out of OCD, half out of old teachings that he used to do and everything. Where he takes 3 different stakes, he puts them around his house, and he puts the mirror on the opposite wall to ensure that nothing comes in, and then he beds down, knowing that tonight he will likely be having to bust the heads of some more stupid teenagers, but this time over alcohol and not over graves.
Yeah, as you're doing that, you just get this, can you roll me a charisma save, please?
Yeah, I got you. Give me 1 second. All right, I got a 18.
All right. So you just feel something, and almost like at the back of your head, like something itching at you, something trying to say something to you, and all you can think of is your dream, that black wolf. And maybe as you try to recall the details, you remember where you were running. You just have this suspicion, like you never actually saw where you were going, but it was the town. You were going back to the town, and it's just something that just keeps nagging at you, like someone is trying to say something to you, but you don't know what it is.
Unable to decipher this feeling, and I imagine Wynn is also unable to sleep because of this thing bugging him, keeping his thoughts ablaze. He's going to write down the dream into his journal. He's going to write down this feeling into his journal, and then he's going to begin to try and meditate to try and overcome the feeling, but presumably fail until the festival eventually starts.
All right, does anybody else do anything?
Valen made sure to have gone back to the inn, talk with the keeper, just let her know where he'd be for the night, considering he's normally her bard.
Yeah. So yeah, you go back to ITOP, and Let me just pull up what this chick's name actually is. Right. So yeah, you go back to ITOP and you talk to Marina. And yeah, she lets you let her know, and she kind of just nods her head like, yeah, I know, it's fine. And you can see that she's preparing for her famous for her tavern's pancake eating contest that's going to be held tonight. And they're dressing the tavern up real nice, and you can see that guests are starting to kind of pour in. Yeah. Argo, do you do anything in particular?
Absolutely. Knowing full and well that this is going to be a highly festive occasion and that there's a great opportunity to make a good bit of money on a night like tonight, Argo is going to go back to his workshop, procure quite a few nice fine herbs and spices before actually sauntering out to a nice high location and trying to actually set up not even a stall, just he's going to put his hammock up, knowing good and well he's going to spend most of the night reclining, enjoying the fine festivities, and keeping an eye out on the populace as it is enjoying itself for this festival.
All right, and what about you, Wim?
Wim is also pretty excited about the festival, so she kind of skips on back over to her shop, makes sure everything's locked up and secure, so no shenanigans go on during the festival that might ruin it. And then she would go around the town and see if anybody needs help setting up or preparing anything.
Cool. All right. So as you guys carry on about your day, the day ticks onward. People pretty much flood the town, and the small sleeping town of Amissa seems to wake up for just tonight as it is overwhelmed with people and laughter and celebration as everyone is drinking together. And you know that the Harvest Festival is more than just about the harvest. It's about that season's celebration. So it's celebrating what people have accomplished that season from everybody, not just the people that farm. So it's who has made the biggest turnips, who have made, who has crafted the most interesting weapons, or who, like, what new inventions have been created, or what hunt has people gone on. It's all about the biggest thing or the best thing that you've done in that season and that you're just trying to show off. People who own shops or who own any kind of craft, some of them have contests, other people have games, and you know that the harvest season or the harvest celebration kind of ends with people going on a kind of scavenger hunt into the hills, and just going into, so they go into the farm sometimes and go through the cornfields and the wheat fields, and they go on some kind of scavenger hunt at the end. But for the most part, it's mostly just for kids that do it. Most of the adults are way too drunk by that point. So yeah, you guys are all together now, and as you guys are walking, you're seeing all kinds of mirth going on. What would you guys like to do? So all you guys are pretty much doing at this point is you're walking around, and you guys are coming across all kinds of fun games, all kinds of drinking competition, bars, things like that. Is there anything you guys are doing as you kind of enter into the festivities?
Remembering all the motions about monsters attacking cattle in the fields earlier, Val would actually be keeping a considerable eye out. The most he'd be doing would be playing a viol, just to soft strum the strings.
Likewise, Win is not participating in any of the festivities or the games. He sees some things that maybe 20, 30 years ago would have caught his eye. But people generally give him a wide berth, as he has quite the reputation, given the fact that he's a gravedigger after all. There's all kinds of rumors that circulate about him. So as people kind of give him a wide breath, and he gives them a wide breath accordingly, he slowly walks around the perimeter, not paying as much attention as Val would, I think, at least not towards that, but he is constantly looking over his shoulder as if he's paranoid that something is following him.
Argo's pretty much just taking in the sights, enjoying a laugh here and there, being his good old, quiet yet mirthful self, just smiling, nodding at the villagers that actually know him from his miscellaneous encounters in the town itself. But more than anything, while he's actually strolling along, he is making no small show of basically blowing out massive clouds of this almost noxious smoke as he just walks through the crowd, inhaling off this peace pipe, every now and again offering it to Wynn and Val as they look over their shoulders, almost paranoid. He says to them a couple of times, "Relax, man, it's a fun night. Just enjoy yourself, have fun. Don't hit that too hard, though." Twirls it a couple of times, blows another huge plume of smoke, making concentric circles. He's that guy who vapes, and then passes it along.
Wynn would never take the pipe, and he wouldn't respond either. Like, I imagine you hand him the pipe and you say that. He turns and he looks at you with just like this complete deadpan look, and he goes back to looking over his shoulder as if you're not even there.
Ballard responded much more friendly, taking a puff or two, and then just the whole moment of, "We're on guard duty. We need to keep our eyes sharp." Sadly.
If the pipe comes near Wim, she kind of rejects it, but out of everybody, she seems kind of the most distracted. She's just kind of really distracted by all of the lights and the people talking and people coming up to her and everything else. She's trying really, really hard to stay focused. She wants to run off and do stuff, but remembering the quarrel that happened, she's doing everything that she can to be aware of her surroundings.
All right. So as you guys are walking, and having conversations and smoking, I would imagine Val, you have quite a few like children who are like kind of tagging behind you like little ducklings, listening to you play your music, and then they kind of like spread out whenever you turn around to look at them, and then form back up when you're not looking. And just, everybody's kind of having a good time. Everybody in the town kind of knows you guys. So they give you guys free drinks as you pass by and whatnot. But as you guys are passing by some of the shops and some of the other things, you guys come to I would say the center of the festival. And there you can see like all the most popular shops have been set up, and all the most well-known people in the village or the town have kind of set up shop here. And you can see there are all kinds of wild and crazy games that are being played. There are strength games to try to knock things all the way up to the top, and like all kinds of other things. And Val, you probably notice Marina first. She comes right over to you guys and goes, "Ah, Val, I've been looking for you all over the place. Come on now, I want you to come see. Come look at the challenge. It's so funny."
What have you done now, woman?
And she goes, "I have done nothing. In fact, I have only allowed people to do things to entertain me." And she just goes, come now. And she kind of holds out her hand for you, Wim, as she kind of starts to lead the way back.
Might as well go see what's going on.
So as you guys kind of follow her back, you get to what on the tavern is called the International Tavern of Pancakes. And you get there and you just see tables and tables full of people with like mountainous stacks of pancakes. And you just see certain people have just kind of collapsed on the floor. and you see other people who are just like collapsed into their pancakes, other people who are just like trying as hard as they can to like eat all of the pancakes down. Like it's just the whole place is just kind of a mess with people trying to. Then you have another crowd, like a huge crowd of people cheering and chanting and laughing, and just people helping people and giving them water when they need it, and all kinds of stuff. And she's like, well, which one of you would like to give it a try, eh? The prize this year is pretty good.
Argo spins his pipe around in his fingers almost absent-mindedly, like it's just a time-old tradition, something he does without even thinking about it. You say there's a prize this year, and blows a huge plume of smoke. What might that prize be?
And she just kind of smiles her best smile and just kind of twiddles her eyes and goes, wouldn't you like to know? But I can't actually say what the prize is, but I tell you this, it's worth 100,000 gold, but it isn't 100,000 gold.
That's a fine riddle indeed.
Would you like to take a shot at it, Argo?
What exactly are the rules of this contest again this year?
You eat the pancakes anywhere you want, but you got to eat the pancakes.
That's normally Valve's thing, but why not? I'll give it a shot.
Well, if you're bringing me into this, I guess I have to.
I guess I can try it.
Oh, all three of you then. What about you, Gravedigger? You're going to give it a shot too? You look like you can use a few pancakes on the bones.
No. And he looks to her, and he simply just rubs underneath his eyes. He's going to turn away from the whole thing. He doesn't like pancakes.
And she just kind of laughs and goes, okay, Mr. Gravedigger, you play the smart game then, eh? Well, all of you just take a seat there. And you just see her kind of like shoo a bunch of people who have just kind of like collapsed into their plates. And she just kind of shoos them off of the table. And she just kind of whistles. And you see a stone elf. And you guys are used to seeing her, but it's still kind of jarring, I guess I would say, to see a stone elf, simply because the aura of a stone elf makes you feel like you're probably going to die. They're just known to be dangerous and intimidating, and it's so all kinds of wrong to see someone of that caliber of danger working in a kitchen. And she comes out and she drops the she drops 3 plates of pancakes, almost as if she, like, Marina didn't tell her how many to bring out, but she brings out 3 stacks of pancakes, sits in front of all of you guys, and without a word just goes back into the kitchen, and you can just hear her go back to work making even more pancakes. And the stack, again, is mountainous. It is huge. There has to be at least 20, maybe even like 30 pancakes in this stack. And Marina just kind of puts her hand on her hips and just goes, well, get started then. You got until you can't eat anymore, really. All right. So how this is going to work, guys, is I would like each of you guys to make a Constitution save.
Let's see how well Dice Stream likes me today.
22.
22, nice.
A 12.
12 as well. The dice are not being friendly.
Okay. Use a different dice instead of that. All right, so you got a 12, you got a 12. And Mouse, you got a what? A 22?
22.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So, Mouse, you go ahead and you eat 8 pancakes, just like in the blink of an eye. They're just gone. The rest of you guys eat 4 pancakes, right? And you just see Wim's character just downing this like small gnome, devouring these pancakes faster than you can possibly believe, and you just finished your 4th one. So you just, and again, there's at least like 20 or so more pancakes to go. But you are kind of starting to feel full at this point. Go ahead and make another Constitution save.
$18.
Nice.
Wim is going into these pancakes like every moment she's ever lived in this town, going down. It's not matters right this very second. She has been preparing her entire life for this moment.
All right. What about the rest of you guys?
I had another 12.
And Argo's got a whopping 7.
Ooh, Argo. Okay. So, Marina kind of... So, the crowd is like, has gathered around you guys as they are completely captivated with the gnome just putting away all of these pancakes. And they are all cheering and drinking and losing their shit over this small little thing, eating more, like you have officially eaten more pancakes than anybody tonight. And they are just losing it. So you eat another 10 pancakes, just gone, just another 10 pancakes. Val, you go ahead and you eat another 5 pancakes. And the crowd is kind of cheering for you too. They're like, woo, Wim! And Val, you too, man, good job. And you Argo, you put that last piece of that 5th pancake in your mouth, and you know it was a mistake. You just know it was automatically a mistake, and you just are about to throw up, and you just hear Marina go, "End the bucket! Do not throw up on my tables." And you look over, and there's just a nice pristine bucket, and just waiting for you there. And it's just gone. Just all that you have eaten is just in the bucket. You are out of the challenge. All right. So, here's the thing, though. You two are well past your limits at this point. So, if you would like to continue, I would like you to take 1 level of exhaustion. Or you can just back out now and just walk away like, I ate a lot of pancakes. What would you two like to do? Val and Wim, you guys are still in this. What would you guys like to do?
Wim's come too far. She has come too far to back out now.
Seeing the little gnome going for it, Val's just gonna nod his head the whole, all right, let's do this.
All right. Just so I can make sure. Okay. All right. So, yeah. You guys are definitely feeling it. So, one more time, please roll me a Constitution save.
Nat 1.
John, the dice that you got me are amazing. So I got an unnatural 20.
Oh shit. Okay. So
This is
wow.
where I roll the best tonight, not later.
So, Val, or Val, sorry, I don't know why I keep wanting to pronounce your name Val, but Val, yeah, you just you hear you hear the crowd as you just you're so close. You have like maybe 4 more pancakes, but you just can't, and you just hear the crowd going, Val, oh God, oh, and you just into the bucket. And Wim, you put away the last of the pancakes, and the crowd loses their fucking shit. They just cannot contain themselves. They're just like, oh my God, Wim, and they're just, they're all cheering. And as you put the last bite in, they just start screaming and throwing alcohol all over the place, and people are just throwing pancakes everywhere, and they're like, woo, and the whole house just erupts in celebration as you have completed the challenge. And Marina, you can just see that like her jaw is like just kind of hanging open, as she's like, wow, Wim, you can really put it away, yeah? Wow.
Wim just kind of slams her little fists down on the table once she's done. It was like, yes! I've done it! Oh, I'm going to regret
it. And Marina just kind of comes around and goes, well, I have to be honest with you, Wim. I kind of oversold the prize a little bit, but and she kind of gives you a sack, and she goes, how about a bag of holding for holding all of the pancakes that you seemingly can eat an infinite number of? And she kind of just gives you the bag of holding and goes, congrats. And she goes, now please get out of my tavern before other people start to think they can win too.
I'll take it.
And she just kind of scoots you guys out. And, tavern, everybody is still drinking and still, like, laughing and celebrating. And you just hear a bunch of people just go, if she could do it, I could do it too. I would like to try the challenge. And you just see more people just hop directly into the tavern and try to eat more pancakes. And you can just kind of hear the celebration outside seems to be a lot more tame when the door closes in comparison to the noise that was inside. But yeah, once you guys get outside, you see so many other people still celebrating. And yeah, so you guys start to walk through, and you start to get to the parts where, people are kind of just in taverns, kind of coming down from having drunk too much or having celebrated a little bit too much. And you get to Vobar's tavern. And you guys all know that Vobar is the only brewery in all of the town. He is the only person that makes alcohol, and he provides alcohols for at least several villages around the town itself. His alcohol is okay, but he would say that it is pristine, elegant, and exactly what you need because it's all that you got. And he is also having a challenge. And as you guys kind of walk past, you see these 2 orcs just kind of with like these barrels of alcohol, and they're just chugging it and just trying, and you just see them get to a point where they just stop chugging and they just collapse, and the crowd kind of cheers again, and Vobar just goes, the guardsmen. Well, my friends, would you like a fresh drink? On the house, of course.
Perhaps just one to clear out the pancake taste.
You tried the challenge, did you? How'd you fare?
I won.
And he just kind of like looks like taken aback. Wim, You won the pancake challenge. What a monster you are.
I won the pancake challenge.
And he goes, well, then it sounds like you all can definitely use a drink. Yes. And he kind of snaps his hands, and you see a few barmaids come over with like a fresh serving of ale, and he just hands it to each of you guys and goes, come, drink up, drink up. The next set of challengers are sure to be entertaining. Yes.
I imagine as Wynn drinks it, it's the ale is just so bad, like it's so thick, like it's just like drinking almost pure yeast, but it is the only thing they have. So as he's like half drinking it, half chewing it, he's just looking with the most angry, agitated look that he has, just off into the distance, trying to stomach this.
And you just see Vobar does not look like at all displeased. He just has like this smile on his face, like, yep. That is the face of satisfaction, my friend. And so as you guys are drinking / chewing this alcohol, you see the next two contenders, these big brawly men, these humans just come up, and they go and they slam their coin down, and they go, we heard that you have a coin challenge. And Vobar like kind of puffs his chest out and goes, I do at that. He goes, the challenge is very simple, lads. All you have to do is taste the coin. The coin is a light coin, therefore it will float all the way up to the top. The rules, you just got to drink it all to get to the coin. You drink it all, you get to the coin, you get free drinks all night. And they go, yes, we can take this challenge. And he snaps his fingers again, and the barmaids come with like huge, like, again, barrels of alcohol. They sit them on the counter, and the men kind of look around, and they go, we are the Wees brothers, and we shall conquer this challenge as we have conquered all challenges this night. And they pick up the barrels, and they just start chugging it, right? And as they are chugging it, that's not a great number. They just kind of like the orcs, they look like they're doing really, really great. And the crowd is cheering them on, and they're like, Wees brothers, Wees brothers, Wees brothers. And, you know, it gets kind of a long name to say after a while, so they just start calling them Weezer. And they're like, Weezer, Weezer. And about like 3 or 4 minutes later, they just start wavering, and then they just, like the orcs, just completely collapse. And Vobar is like, oh no, it looks like they did not defeat this challenge. Vobar's challenge stands. Is there none who can conquer the coin challenge of Vobar? And he kind of looks at the crowd, and they all just kind of cheer, and they just go, Vobar, Vobar. And he goes, aye, well, are there anything I can get you lads other than more entertainment?
Val would turn a small eye to Wim, and it's the moment of, well, think you can do it?
It just kind of looks back at you. A small tear goes down her face as she looks you straight in the eye. And she looks like she wants to be tough and go another round with another challenge. But she believes deep in her soul the moment the drink touches her lips, she's gonna puke. Yeah.
So when you seem to be stepping up to take the challenge?
Unfortunately.
So are you all going to let this small gnome outdo you once more?
Wynn is so totally dispassionate and totally dissatisfied with the crud that he's trying to consume that he looks at her And he knows her father, and he knows he's supposed to be looking after her when he's gone, but he just goes back to trying to chew through this thing in his cup.
So Vobar looks at you, Wen, and he says, I'll tell you something you might be interested in. This ain't my alcohol that's in them barrels. Got it imported.
What?
Good stuff, that is.
Where'd you import it from?
Oh, I got it straight from Ingrid City itself. Good stuff it is.
Is it to your taste?
To my taste, no. I preferred my own stuff. But to everybody else's, yes.
And he turns and he looks back at it, and he looks back to you, and he says, maybe if I was not on duty.
Oh, then you will let the... And he looks at Wim and he goes, you will let Wim have all the drink herself then?
She will not have all of it. She will not make it through the barrel.
Well, you hear that, Wim? No faith in ya.
I have a faith in her. You know what? Sign me up as well.
He goes, the legendary bard would like to go ahead and make a drink himself. Wonderful. Everybody, this is Wim. And he kind of just like gives you space and kind of just like puts you on the pedestal almost and goes, Wim has already defeated the challenge of ITOP, and now she is here to defeat me, Vobar. And this is Vol, who... Did you also take the challenge, Vol?
Yes. It did not go well.
Aye, Vol is here to clean his throat with our wine due to the pancakes. And he looks over at Argo and goes, what about you, Argo? Are you here for some good drink?
At this point, Argo just was completely and totally exhausted. Having completely purged everything that is within him. His soul was left behind in high. And he looks over at the Weezer brothers and rolls them both onto their stomachs to make sure that they don't have any kind of accidents. Piles both of them on top of one another and then proceeds to take a seat atop the topmost one. By all means, let them do whatever they will. I'm not taking part in this one now.
And he goes, smart man. We have here another challengers. More entertainment for the masses and for Vobar. So, why won't you all step up, the two of you? And he snaps his fingers and two barrels are brought out again. And they position it on the table so that you don't have to hold it, Wim, as they're not really sure you could actually carry it. They just go, whenever you are ready. And whenever you guys are ready, you can just pull the cork right out of those and start it up again. So again, this is going to be just like last time. We're going to do 4 rounds of Constitution saves. We're going to see how this goes. All right. So go ahead. Roll a Constitution save, please.
19.
19.
Nat 20.
Woo, 2 successes. All right, you guys keep it chugging, and you can see that you got everybody in the crowd can see that you guys are steady, and they're all cheering you on. Roll another Constitution save.
No, nat 20.
Damn. You are prepared for this one.
17.
Nice. All right. So yeah, the crowd is still cheering you guys on. You guys look way steadier at this point than the other brothers were. Go ahead, guys. Second to last save.
$15. Val's throat is apparently endless as there's nothing left in his stomach.
I rolled an 8. Wim is looking more and more defeated.
Okay. So, Wim, you just like it starts to spill out of your mouth as you just could not possibly drink any more of this. You're just completely overwhelmed with the amount of alcohol you have just taken, and you just faint with like the alcohol still like pouring all over you. um Chris, you are still going though. So go ahead and roll your last con save.
All right. 18.
Nice, right on
Val
the
is trying to
nose.
go the distance.
So you could feel yourself start to faint, and the crowd is kind of just like feeding into it as they're like, oh, oh, and they're waiting for it. But you finish the last drop, and everyone hears that doot, 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 as the coin just settles on the wood at the bottom. And the crowd goes crazy. And they all just start cheering your name. They're like, Val! Val is the victor! Woo! And you just see Vobar, and he is like, I have been defeated! Finally! Val, of course it was you, Val. You were the chosen one. And he goes, free drinks for you, Val, all night. And since you live here, all week if you want it. And the crowd starts cheering, and he slides a gold piece into your pocket and goes, please get out of here.
Win is going to lift the alcohol barrel that's currently trying to drown Wim to death. So he's going to quickly move that out of the way. He's going to see her lying there. He's just going to pick her up and throw her over his shoulder and walk out.
Nice.
That's for the best.
Oh, so Wim, I would actually like you to take another level of exhaustion.
How does exhaustion work in Fifth Ed?
So the first level of exhaustion makes it so that all of your skill checks are at disadvantage.
Okay.
The second level. Here it is. The second level, your speed is halved. So they're pretty much carrying you at this point. Or walking at your pace.
Okay.
So the rest of your night is pretty much this. It's a bunch of challenges. It's a bunch of people doing really dumb drunk people stuff. All kinds of crazy things are going on. You see Volbo or Vobar's wife Becca. She's doing a potion challenge where people, if they drink the wrong potion, they might turn a different color. You see Eliza. She's showing off her new tech. You see Argo's partner. He's showing off all of his new inventions and things like that. And everybody is just kind of celebrating and having a really, really great time. And as the celebration is drawing to its conclusion and all of the kids are being rounded up so they can get ready to go for their scavenger hunt, you see Hobin come in. And Hobin finds you guys, and he looks almost drained of color. And he just says, I need your help. I need you to come with me. Please come with me. I need some assistance from the guard.
Looking fairly concerned and probably heavily intoxicated. What's wrong exactly?
And Hobart just goes, and he just kind of looks around, and he just goes, I can't discuss it here right now. I need you to come back with me to my hut, to my house. I need to show you something.
Suspicious as he is want to be. When assuming that Wim is still on his shoulder because she was literally blackout drunk earlier, just like an hour ago, he looks at Hobart for a moment, and he has this resigned sigh as he falls in line to let the man lead him where he goes.
All right, Argo, are you in on this?
Absolutely. Argo's just gonna face palm for a moment, knowing all too well that little Haben likes to get himself into entirely too much trouble with his very, very short temper. We don't say that out loud because it will just cause him to explode. He lights his pipe once again, sighs heavily, and trundles along, trying to make sure that both Wim and Val don't stumble into anything and knock over a candle.
God forbid. So yeah, Hoban leads you guys back, and Hoban's hut is like maybe like a few minutes outside of town, so it's on like the far outskirts of the town, and it's towards where the actual farming is. But once you guys leave the festival, so once you get to the part of town where the festival is no longer, he starts to tell you guys what happened. And during the walk, he goes, so I want you to know before we get to my house exactly what happened so that you don't freak out. When I went back, I prepared my defenses. I prepared a trap for the beast that has been eating my cows. And I prepared my arrows, my crossbows, my bolts. And anyway, I saw the beast, and it came out of the wheat. It came out of my wheat stalks, and it started to come over, and I recognized it right away. It was a dire wolf, a white dire wolf, big, huge, bigger than any wolf I've ever seen. So it had to be a dire wolf. So I shot it. It was a good shot, clean shot, right in the chest. And I just want you to know that I shot the beast, and I just want you to understand that that's what happened, despite what it might look like. And he just, as he finishes his tale, you guys get to his house, and he doesn't go into his front door. He goes kind of around to the cellar. And he puts his hand on the doorknob to open it, and he just goes, just remember, I shot a beast. You understand? I shot the beast that was eating my cows, that was defending my house. You understand? Yes? I asked for help. They told me that they would not give it. And I had to defend my house. You understand? And he doesn't even wait for a response. He just, you'll see. And he opens the cellar door, and he starts walking downstairs. And as you guys are led into his basement, you can see that kind of chained to the middle of the floor is this naked, like, elf. She is a naked wood elf with pure white hair, and you can see that a wound on her chest has been dressed up, but it's, if you've ever seen it, and most of you have probably seen it before, but it is clearly a bolt wound or an arrow wound right to the chest. So I would ask you guys, are any of you familiar with the people that serve, or wood elves in general? Are any of you connected to wood elves?
Wynn's done a couple in his lifetime, but he's never been heavily involved with the culture.
Okay.
That's about where Val would fall.
Limna might have met a couple just on her travels with her dad.
Argo's partner is a wood elf, but he doesn't know too terribly much about him because he doesn't act anything like an elf.
Fair enough. So what you guys see, and this is And Hoban again. Once you guys get down the stairs, he goes, "There it is. That's the beast. I shot the dire wolf like I said, and it turned into an elf." And he just kind of, his eyes just kind of shift at all of you guys, and he goes, "That's what happened. And I took her back here. I mean, I've never seen such a thing before. I didn't know what to do. So I chained her to my floor and I dressed her wounds. I don't know what to do. Any suggestions? Should I just kill her? She was a dire wolf, right?"
I don't think we should kill her.
Steady your hand, mate. And out of character, Arcana roll to see if she's aware.
Sure, go for it.
Let's see, disadvantage. 16.
16. All right, so you know from what you can pull up about your lore, and you just you kind of think about this, and you know that in order to be a werewolf, there's only two ways. You can either be born a werewolf, or you had to be bitten or infected somehow. And you check over her body, and you don't see any clear sign that she was bitten, or at least nothing as brutal as a werewolf attack. And it's possible that maybe she was born a werewolf, but werewolves don't typically turn into dire wolves. They are typically they turn into like half man, half werewolves, or half man, half wolves.
Wynn is going to put Wim down. He's going to sit her somewhere, and he's going to very slowly approach this naked woman. As he does so, I assume he sees the rising and falling of her chest to indicate that she's alive.
Yep.
She seems to be unconscious from how her breathing is.
Yeah.
So he's going to walk over to her. He's going to kneel down and crouch. He's going to take one hand. He's going to use it to kind of move her head back and forth. He's looking for the telltale signs of some kind of bite mark. But as you said, there were no bite marks, just the white hair on her naked body. And he looks back to the others, and he says, "In my travels, I have seen many things. I have seen people who worship gods in different ways than we do. People who worship God of tree, God of roots, God of wolf. This woman, you say you shot her and she turned back to this, yes?"
And Hoban just kind of nods his head frantically. Yeah. She's attacking my cows.
"And you said that she came out of the wheat, yes?"
Yes.
"Perhaps she lived different than us. Perhaps she lived deeper in forest. Regardless," and Wynn stands up at that and he looks back at him, "we must tell the mayor."
And you just see him kind of pale, and he just says, "You think that's necessary?
I do.
You don't think it's something we can handle?"
I do not.
Yeah. You're probably right. You're probably right.
I also do not want to leave her here.
And he just kind of looks at her and he goes, "You can't possibly be thinking about unchaining her. She was a dire wolf. You don't just let a beast like that off of a chain."
If you shot her once, you can shoot her again.
And he kind of thinks about that, and he goes, all right. And you see him pull out some keys, and he unchains her. Yeah. So yeah, he pulls off the chains, and her. What are you guys' passive perceptions? I think I have it all written down. All right, cool. uh, Val and Wen, you guys are probably the only ones that actually notice this, but her breathing quickens as soon as the chains are off, and then immediately just like starts to even out again.
Win goes back to one knee. Well, not one knee. He's really just crouching over. And he says, I know that you are awake. Your breathing has changed.
Val would have drawn his sword, the same matter, more defensively.
So
Definitely awake.
she opens her eyes at like your words, and she immediately tries to just scratch at anyone, but just gets air and just throws herself back against the wall to try to create distance between you guys. And she just kind of has her hands out like as if they were claws, and just kind of like poises herself to strike at anyone who would come by. And she starts talking really fast, but in a language that is clearly not common.
Win slowly stands, and he turns and he sees Val, and he puts his hand up. Put away your blade. We are not digging graves tonight.
Val would nod. He'd keep his shield out as he put his sword back away. And that moment of, I might be able to cure her, at least a little bit, might win her trust.
First, we would have to get close enough to her, and as you can tell, she does not want us close at all. And at that, Win is he's keeping his space, and he raises his hands into the air. I'm trying to make the universal gesture of I'm not going to hit you with any weapon because I'm not holding any weapons. And he takes a step forward. What is her reaction when she does that?
As you take a step forward, she kind of like freaks out and like starts slashing at the air, and she just like starts yelling things again in this language that is clearly not common, and just like telling like just motioning for you to get back.
He's going to, and you can tell me if this is not okay, but can I say that when, during all the festivities and everything, people are throwing food and drink, there's like a piece of like jerky on him or a few pieces of jerky?
Sure.
So he's going to reach behind himself very slowly and take out this piece of jerky. Is going to pull it to his mouth, bite it, and chew it to indicate it's food. And he's just going to slowly throw it like underhanded at her to land at her feet.
And she goes like silent for a moment, and like she just watches you chew it, and then her eyes, like her whole body doesn't change, and her eyes watch as it like falls at the ground at her, and she looks down like really quickly to look at it, and then reaches down and puts it in her mouth, but you can see that she doesn't chew it. And she just like maintains her posture.
And when not looking back to the others, because he knows you should not take your eyes off of what essentially is someone with the mentality of a dangerous beast, he says to the other three, if any of you have anything else to give, now would be the time to give it.
At this point, Argo sighs heavily and leans off of basically the wall of the cellar that he was leading on that leads out of the cellar itself. And slowly but surely walks towards Win. Now, I don't know if this matters to her at all, but he is draped entirely in a dire wolf cloak as he's approaching. He kneels down, puts the pipe to his lips, and exhales a massive plume of smoke that wafts almost mystically towards the young woman. Out of character, not knowing whether or not this is going to work on her because he's never done it on an elf before, he's going to attempt the Calm Emotion spell, cast at 3rd level ability.
Cool. What do I have to do?
That means you have to roll a save. I do believe it's charisma. It might be will. Let me double check that.
And what's the DC?
14.
All right. Well, she got a nat 1. So I assume she has been calmed. So what exactly does the spell do?
It suppresses strong emotions in a group of people. A charisma save can choose to fail save with wishes. One of the following effects. You can suppress any effect causing the target to be charmed or frightened. And alternatively, you can make a target indifferent about creatures of your choice that it is hostile towards. This indifference ends if the target is attacked or harmed by a spell, or if it witnesses any of its friends being harmed.
All right, so what is the effect that you're going for?
Indifference. I don't want her to be frightened or acting hostile towards us.
All right, cool. So yeah, she like the smoke kind of gets in her face, and at first she seems like really irritated by it, but then you just see her just visibly relax, and she just kind of like slumps against the wall and just kind of like relaxes to the floor, and you just kind of feel her hand go to her chest where she's been shot and just kind of feel around it. And then she kind of just shakes her head to kind of get the fog out of her mind, and she looks at all of you guys, and again she just starts like mumbling in this language, and it seems like the inflections that she's using at the end of some of her statements seem like she's asking questions, but you don't necessarily understand her.
Wayne looks. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, Wim taking Gwen's advice earlier of trying to show a not hostile in nature. Wim pulls out her water skin, and she just kind of takes a sip from it and slowly kind of slides it over to the woman.
And the woman takes it, and she takes a really quick sip, and then just keeps it.
And then Wayne's going to look back to Val, and he's going to, with his hand, just quickly indicate, "Now would be the time, my friend, and leave her with your cloak as well."
Val would nod, toss her a cloak, and after that, you're going to notice him stepping back and pulling out the viol. He doesn't seem to play many strings, just a few. After a few moments, he's just letting his ears adjust to all the sounds in the room, comprehend languages.
Nice. You don't have to make a check or anything for that, right? All right, cool. So you don't. Does it tell you what language, or you just understand it?
I understand the, for lack of better words, direct meaning.
I see. So you can hear what she's saying. You're still not necessarily sure what language she's speaking, but you get kind of what she's asking. She's just saying, "Where am I? How did I get here?" And like as she's like feeling her chest, she's like, "Was I shot?" And she's more or less asking herself all of these questions. Not really. She's almost not even paying attention to you guys anymore.
Val's going to start stepping up, keeping both hands up slowly, and the whole, "Can you understand us?" And as he's saying this, he's going to also repeat it again in Elvish.
She listens to what you say, and you just see her eyes narrow to slits. Like her entire face just like cringes in disgust at listening to you speak that language, and she repeats it back, although you get an idea that she's not actually speaking in Elvish. She's speaking in something much older than that. But she understands what you're saying, kind of, and she just kind of nods her head.
Val will nod his head slightly. "All right. We don't know how you came to be here, other than you were in the form of a great wolf. probably enraged and hungry. Someone shot you in fear. We apologize.
And she once like it looks like she's kind of straining to really grasp your meaning of certain things. And then like once she hears the word wolf, she looks at herself and it just kind of strikes her that she's not a wolf. And you just see her like she just starts muttering things, and she just kind of keeps looking at her body and like nothing is happening, and you can see her starting to kind of like stress out. And it is so she kind of locates like a window that's close to her and kind of sees that it's like right behind you guys, and she kind of just like starts edging along the wall trying to get to the window.
Wayne is going to not completely mirror her movements, but he knows what it's like to be afraid. He knows what it's like to be in a panic. And turning to look over his shoulder and seeing the window and looking back at her, knowing that she is a wild thing, essentially, he's going to not move to aggressively block her path, but he's going to stand directly underneath the window. And he's going to quite, like, very curtly just shake his head no and indicate for her to step back.
Okay. I would like you to roll a dex check, or like a dex check.
Acrobatics 2 or just dex?
Not just dex.
Just dex? All right, that's going to be a 14.
All right, so she manages to just you go to block her as you see her about to just dive for the window, and you try to grab her, and she just jumps directly on your shoulders, and she can't necessarily slide out of the window because the window opens inwards, but she grabs her hands on it and she pulls the window down, and she just starts howling into like just out into the wild, just howling, like not even screaming like a person. Like if you heard this, you would think this was a wolf. And she just starts howling and howling and howling. And then you hear howling being returned from somewhere else outside. And she just stops. And you see her smile, and she just keeps howling. And it's at this point that you can try to kind of pull her from the window.
Yeah, Win is going to full on, because right now his blood is run cold. The dream is flashing through his mind. He can feel the sweats, just kind of, coming up now, the shiver going down his spine. And very quickly he's going to reach out with one hand, wrap it around her throat, the other around her mouth, and just pull her back, trying to not choke her aggressively, but trying to stop the howling.
Yep. So go ahead and roll a strength check for that.
Strength check? Okay, that is terrible. I got a 6.
Okay, would anybody like to assist him on that?
Yes.
All right. What you get?
Non-nat 20.
You got a nat 20?
Non-nat.
Oh, a non-nat 20. Okay. So, I'm going to tell you, she actually rolled a nat 20 on this strength check. So you manage to like get her from the window, and she's howling and screaming and scratching, but that's pretty much all you manage to do. She immediately gets herself free and just pulls herself and pushes herself back up against the wall, and just starts like growling at you guys. And you can see the effects of the spell like start to calm her down again as she like inadvertently starts to like not become as violent towards you, and just starts to kind of relax again. And again, she just keeps speaking like, my family. I have to get back to my family. Yeah. Anything else you guys would like to do, ask, or try?
At this point, Val would more or less start translating back to the others. Apparently, she's calling for her family, lost and alone. And by the sounds of the howling, they're probably coming for us.
Wynn closes his eyes and he listens. Is it possible to tell like how many like different howls he's hearing, or just one blanket returning like super loud howl, like it's like a whole pack was screaming?
With your passive at 15, I think you could hear that there is at least 5 return like separate individual howls.
Wynn takes a deep breath and he looks at the girl and he speaks to her in Elvish, hoping that if something is mistranslated, that Val can repeat it. And he says to her, if you go back to your pack, will you leave these cattle and will you leave these people alone? Will you not return to this piece of the forest?
And she kind of like looks at you all, and she kind of understands what you're trying to say, and she's just like, and she looks at Val, who she's kind of gathered is the person that's communicating to you guys what she's saying. Then she says, "Must feed brother, wounded and need strength before leave."
In Elvish to her, how wounded is he? We have healers, we have magic, and if you keep or stop killing the cattle, we can also supply milk.
And she seems like a little frustrated, and she shakes her head no and says, "We have magic, we have healing, no work, only strength."
When assuming Val's still translating this, Wynn just starts taking out like bundles of jerky and holds it up to her and he's like, "We can feed."
And her eyes kind of go wide as she sees all of it, and she goes, yes, food for health, and then go.
Do you understand the term pancake?
And she just kind of twists up her face, but before she can answer, you guys hear doof 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 doof, and you just hear, Hoban, are you in there? Hoban, open the door.
What does Hoban do before Wynn reacts?
Hoban just kind of looks up at the door and he just looks at you guys. Should I open it?
Wim, get the door and see who it is before you open it all the way.
So I assume that Wim goes ahead and opens the door.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if you said Wim or One. Wim kind of was like, okay, and she sort of makes her way up there and opens it up a crack. Hello?
Yep, so when you guys open up the door, you see you see one of the other guards, and he is just looking at you guys and he goes, "Hi, Jessiv here. I know this is kind of sudden, but we need Hoban. There's been an incident in town."
An incident?
Yes. Is he here? Is Hoban here?
Yeah. He's here. What's going on?
And he kind of looks at you and he's like, it's about his daughter. Hoban, if you could just come out, it would only. We need to talk. There's been an incident in town with your daughter.
Come in.
and he kind of looks at Wim to kind of push aside so that he can get inside.
Kind of. It's not going to get between him and his daughter, so she just kind of scoots.
So as the man kind of pushes away inside and he sees the naked elf and all of you guys kind of like standing, he goes, I don't even want to know. Hoban just goes, yes, out with it, man. What happened to my daughter? And he goes, well, she, damn it. She was on the farm on the other side of town. The kids were all going through the scavenger hunt. They said that they were attacked by wolves. They took a few of the children. Your daughter was one of them. And Hoban just instantly looks over at you guys and then at the girl and goes, how big were the wolves? And he goes, I don't know, Hoban. They're just saying that they were attacked by wolves. We haven't found any evidence that they've eaten the children yet. We think they may have just taken them back to the pack. We're not sure. And he just kind of looks at all of you guys and he goes, I didn't expect to find you guys here, but the mayor would like all guards to be on duty for this. If you guys could come back with me as well, it would really help.
We can expedite this. And when Wynn says that, he looks to the girl and he says to her in Wolfish, keeping his language as direct as possible, you, me, outside, you howl. You call family back.
And she kind of looks at you strangely and she says, and she just kind of nods her head. And she tries to follow you. And Hoban takes his crossbow and just points it at her. And he just says, give me back my daughter.
Val would immediately step between them, hands up towards Hoban. Oh, now. This is diplomacy, not violence.
And he just kind of looks at all of you guys. And Hoban just says, how do you know that this isn't some trick? That they haven't been planning this to take our children and just eat them? What if she's just a decoy? We should be out there looking for the children.
And that's about what we're going to do. But first, we're going to try diplomacy. Calm down, and we'll take care of this.
And he just kind of looks at all of you and just goes, I am trusting you with my daughter's life. Please do not make me regret this. And he looks at all of you, each one of you, and he does not relinquish his gaze until he has gotten an affirmative from each one.
Is there a shovel lying around somewhere in this building?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Wynn's going to, maintaining eye contact with Hoban, go over, grab the shovel, put it on his shoulder, and then just look away from the man, and taking the girl's hand as she allows him, lead her outside, leaving Agro to do what Agro does.
Yeah, so he takes that as your weird affirmative, and he looks at each and every one of you. Do you all give him a nod, a yes or whatever?
Of course.
Of course we're going to.
And he
Argo inhales deeply again, looks at the ground for a moment, and rises from his crouched position. Don't know exactly what's going on this night, but I'll do what I can to make sure everybody comes back alive. I took that oath when I took this night, when I said what I had to the mayor about doing this wretched job. Man, I just want to get a good night's sleep.
and Hoban just nods his head to each of you, and he just says, remember, I provide the food for the town. If my daughter doesn't come back alive, you will starve. And with that, he just lets you guys leave. And yeah, as soon as the girl gets outside, you don't even have to tell her. She just starts howling, and she just starts howling, and you can hear the return howls, and she tries to like run towards them. Obviously you're holding her hand, so do you restrain her?
He won't full on restrain her. He'll like pull her back by the hand and say to her again in Elvish, "I have food. We do this slow."
And she kind of like growls a bit and just keeps howling, and you can hear the return howls of her family in the distance. But yeah, so it takes a little while, maybe like 15 or so minutes go by, but as the howls, you hear one distinct howl getting closer and closer and closer until eventually this black wolf comes out of the wheat and looks all of you over and just starts growling and readies itself to pounce before she stands out in between the two of you and puts her hands up and tries to calm the beast down. And as it looks at it looks at her and then looks at you guys, and it just kind of you can see that it's a little confused, but then stands kind of straight up, and she looks at you and kind of tries to pull her arm free.
And Wynn shakes his head and he turns and he calls for Val to step up, since he's the clearer of like the person who makes the translations more easy. And he also looks to Wim, knowing that she's still pretty drunk, and it indicates for her to stay back with aggro, knowing that she can't protect herself right now from a giant bear-sized wolf. And he turns back to the girl, and he takes out a piece of jerky, and he's going to. Well, first he sticks a shovel into the ground. And he throws a piece of jerky over to the wolf, and he looks to the girl and he says, "Tell him to give back the children, and we will give more of the meat for your brother."
And the wolf kind of like looks at the piece of food that you just threw at it with like utter disgust and hatred, and just looks back at you and just like bares its teeth. But she does repeat the words that you said, and the wolf just kind of like just coughs, like in like just almost as if it's like spitting into the dirt, and just looks up at the girl, and it doesn't obviously just say anything. They just kind of share this like stare for a moment, and she repeats what you said to her again, kind of confused, and the wolf just kind of turns and just howls, and you hear 5 other howling, and the wolf just goes back into the wheat.
Looking to the girl and then from the wolf and back to her, do we have an accord?
And the girl just kind of slowly turns, and she just nods her head, and she kind of she lifts her chin in the direction of the black wolf as if to follow it.
Val would then look at Wen, just nod the whole, let her go. We'll be following.
Wynn looks at Val for a second, and then he looks over the aggro into Wim, and he says, "Do you think that she," and he indicates to the gnome, "will be able to follow with us? She is drunk."
I'm sure one of us can carry her, if that need be.
The last thing we can really afford to do is to have yet another small one end up missing while all of these wolves are running around. And at that point, no sooner than he says wolf, he actually takes his cloak and huffs it up on his shoulders some more, almost as though shielding himself from the night and fighting off bad memories, as though something inside him is just am entirely displeased with this entire notion.
So Wynn is going to look to Argo and he's going to say, "You watch over her with him," and he points to Val, and then he looks at Jessup, who I assume is still here, and he says to Jessup, "Go and tell the mayor what happened here. You're going to go retrieve the children. Do not send reinforcements. If you do, you may ruin everything. You do not want to bury too many bodies." And does Jessup respond to that, or?
Jessup just kind of goes, yeah. I'll tell the mayor what's happening and tell him that you're. Honestly, I'm not really sure what to tell him. I'll tell him that you're talking to the wolves.
That's what look. And then he pulls his hand to his mouth and he whispers a few words over the ring that he wears on his ring thing under his left hand. And as he does so, almost like 4 pinpricks of light begin to manifest around him as he casts a dancing lights cantrip. And they kind of coalesce into one pretty large-sized orb that casts light around him. And he looks back to the girl, ignoring whatever reaction she may have, and he says to her, "You run and I follow." And then he's going to let go of her hand.
As soon as your hand lets go of hers, she is gone. She just takes off full speed, faster than you've ever seen anyone run, directly into the wheat.
And with Wynn's beautiful 40-foot monk movement speed, he's going to follow and then dash after her.
Yep. So it's very rare for you to have to run at your full 40 feet, but you are running at your full 40 feet to keep up with her. So you are you literally have to sprint to keep up with the speed that she is running in. And it seems like nothing that is in her path, none of the wheat, none of the roots, none of the twigs, nothing slows her down. It's almost as if she knows exactly where everything is. She just glides through everything. All right, so
I guess Wim will just kind of climb onto Argo.
Argo will definitely help the little one shuffle onto his shoulder, shake his head ruefully, and blow another plume of smoke. It almost seems to get in his eyes as he rubs them, even as he's reaching around little Wim. And as he opens his eyes again, the entirety of his eyes are opalescent. It's almost as though they are filled with this smoke as he stares into the darkness, past even the dancing lights, to try and follow the movements of these two as they beat feet into the distance.
Nice. So with the 4 orbs of dancing lights behind and your eyes, you guys are easily able to keep up with her, or at least follow her. And eventually you guys get to a small, I would say a nook, behind one of the hills that kind of hide the town. And there's kind of like 2 rocks that have kind of collapsed on one another that lead into a small cave into the hills here. And outside of it, you see the black wolf there. Now, Argo, I would actually like you to roll a charisma check. Just a straight up charisma check.
Roger that. Dice stream, don't fail me now. That's like an 8.
All right. So you're not getting. You can tell that the Elk Queen is talking to you, and for a moment, it's almost as if it's just the 2 of you. Like you're running and you're chasing after them. You don't even feel Wem on your back. You don't feel the wheat against you. You don't feel anything. It's just you and the Elk Queen. But for some reason, maybe it's because you're too focused on what's happening. What she says to you is really fuzzy, but you make out one word or two words specifically, Wolf Queen. And she says something else, and even though her lips are moving, you can't hear what she's saying. And then the instant is past and you're back to running again. But the name, the Wolf Queen, it just hangs in the air, and you know the amount of malice and the amount of dread that it carries. That name is a dangerous name to be attached to anything. And you just got a warning from the Elk Queen. So, yeah.
At that point, no sooner than he heard those words, he would stop dead in his tracks, bowling over wheat, shoveling dust into the air, and stand poised for a moment. Reach for a water skin, turn it upside down, even as he's got Wim on his shoulder, who he's just barely recognizing is there. And no sooner than he brings the wineskin down from his lips, he spews the water into the air. And instantly, it begins to crystallize around him, and this thin mist of just icy coldness clings to his very being. The pelt that he's wearing seems to have frost crystals absolutely attached to it, and this aura of cold just exudes from him as he then continues following at a much more retarded pace, slowly, not hell's bells running behind Win.
Val would have probably nearly slammed into Argo and would have had a slight moment of pause before going, "What's wrong, man? And what the hell are you doing?"
I don't know what's up ahead, but I don't like wolves, not even in the slightest. Got a bad history with them. Hopefully, all turns out well tonight, but I'm just being cautious.
Fair enough. Let's just hope our caution doesn't get us killed.
So you said that we see the black wolf at the cave front, and as Wynn approaches it, he's going to begin to slow down. All of his senses are on high alert because he's in a full-on fight or flight response right now. His adrenaline is pumping. He can feel terror almost shaking him physically, but not quite. He's able to keep it down just a little bit because he remembers the dream, and he remembers what happened before he came into this town and started digging graves. And as he breathes, thin fogs of mist into the air, these white puffs coming from his nose and mouth. He holds the spade in both hands behind his back, and he takes a step forward, his boots sinking slightly into the mud as he looks at the black wolf. And he looks to the white-haired girl to see what she does as he whispers to himself, very quietly, a very faint prayer of protection to affection.
So you feel just like a small tingle of safety fill you, and you just feel relaxed almost, as if affection himself is whispering in your ear, "It'll all be okay." But as for the wolves, you see the girl just like run over to the black wolf and just kind of wrap her arms around its neck and almost tackle it to the ground. And you see that their kind of noise has brought out two other dire wolves. And again, these wolves are huge. If you have never seen a dire wolf before, they are a sight to behold. They are twice the size. Like, if a wolf could be the size of a horse, that is what they would look like. And one of them is kind of this gray pelt, and you can see several fresh scars have been kind of warped through fur that has been kind of cut off. And you can see another silver-haired wolf much bigger than the other wolves. Even though all of them are really great sizes, she stands slightly above them. And you can kind of hear the very low, soft whimpering of a creature behind them. But they have positioned themselves to not let you enter. But they have all growled and have readied themselves to pounce on you. But you do not see the children.
Wynn lowers himself to the ground, and he drops in the grass a piece of the jerky and is going to kick it over, kind of skipping across the dirt over to them. And he's looking at the silver-haired girl, and he says to her, "We had a deal."
And the girl looks at you and then repeats, like, you can hear what she says is that she's repeating exactly what she said before. So she's kind of just repeating what you told her to say again. She's not really sure what's going on, but she just repeats what you told her to say to the other two older looking wolves. And they kind of look at her and they look back at you, and she says some other things. Val, you can hear that she's telling them that you guys are going to give them food, and she like reaches in her mouth and pulls out the jerky that she took before, that she was kind of holding in the pockets of her cheeks, and kind of tosses it to her parents, and one of them takes it and chews a little bit of it, and then goes back inside, and then comes back out and just kind of nods its head in approval. And the silver wolf, it glows for a slight moment before it turns into a very tall and very old looking wood elf. And it looks at all of you, and speaking in the same language as the girl, Val, you'll hear her say, "The children are yet to come here, but when they come, you can have it." And they just look at the girl and go, "We just wanted our daughter back."
Val would slowly attempt to translate all this to the rest of the group.
When then he takes the shovel and he slams it back into the ground so it's standing completely erect and vertical. And he sits in like a meditative pose and puts his back to it. And he says in Elvish, "I will wait here until the children have been returned."
And the woman just kind of nods her head once. So the wolves' ears all perk up, and they all kind of turn at the same time and look at the direction of the town. And Val, you can only just barely hear this, but you hear something like a really, really distant howl, or maybe like a whimper mixed with a howl or something like that. And then the rest of you hear it, and it's just this another loud howl coming from in between the town and where you are now. And the gray wolf looks at the silver haired woman, and she turns back into a wolf, and they all just take off. They don't prep you, they don't tell you anything, they just take off.
Looking somewhat stumped, Val's is going to watch this at the moment of, I don't know what just happened, but we probably should follow.
Wynn's watching as they take off, and he listens for a second. You said he can hear that distant howl too, Rez? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay. He listens for a second and hears that distant howl, and he stands to his feet. He looks at you three, and he says quite quickly, "Two things more than likely have happened. I suspect the guardsmen went hunting for the wolves, and they found them, and they now entered into either battle or something has happened. But are they running back towards where the town was, where the other wolves are.
Either way, we should hurry.
You should. And with that, he would yank his shovel out of the dirt, and using the 4 dancing lights, he would then sprint and then dash in the direction, moving the full 80 feet that he can around after behind the wolves.
Nice.
Val would have tossed up his drift globe, giving them a bit more light, and would take it off after him.
Cool.
Wim holds on tight.
And Argo will indeed, hanging on tight, trying to make sure that she's not too cold, chase off after them.
Yep. So yeah, you guys follow them as best you can. They are wolves, so they are moving pretty fast. So the only person really able to keep up with them is Wen. And it even seems like the wolves are kind of pushing themselves really, really hard. But when you guys get there, you see something really kind of strange. There is a wolf there, but it seems like he's being encased in what looks like moss and grass and these tendrils of branches, twigs, roots are kind of sprouting out of his body. And you can hear like these whimpers of pain as he's like rolling on the floor, and you can just see that his entire body is just being overwhelmed with all of the stuff until he just stops moving. And the wolves themselves are not getting anywhere close to him. They're just kind of howling and whimpering and barking. And when he stops whimpering, they just stop moving. And it's just silence for a little while. Does anybody want to do anything?
Val would slowly try and close the gap between them and, well, essentially the other wolves, and doing his best to ask what was going on in Elvish.
The wolves kind of look at you, but they don't say anything, because they're wolves. But they just they like, some of them like continue to whimper, but essentially they just all kind of back away. They all look terrified. They like, none of them look like they want to be here anymore.
Wynn is going to look to the giant matron wolf, and he's going to move. He's still keeping his distance. He doesn't want the wolf to suddenly snap out and like take an arm or his lower jaw or his heart or some crazy crap like that. So he's going to kind of circle around her and look at her in her wolfish eyes. And he says to her in Elvish, "Please turn back and inform us of what this is." And he's going to turn and indicate at the assumably dead wolf with his shovel.
You see the wolf look at you, and then her head just kind of twitches down. All right. Let's see. There are 4 of you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, as you're trying to talk to her, and she is just kind of like shaking her head and starting to slowly back away from you and everything else. One of the tendrils just springs to life and just drills as fast as it can at Val, and it hits. So let's see how much damage it actually does. can't see where the dice is. Seem to have misplaced one of my dice. That's okay. All right. And it does. Oh, I see. That's kind of ridiculous. Okay. So that it does 11 points of damage. It does 11 points of damage as it just this tendril of branches and roots or whatever it's made out of just slams into you, and you can just feel it spinning as it just digs into your armor, and you can just feel it tear out like flesh before you pull yourself back from it, Val. I would like all of you to roll initiative.
Nat 23.
Nice.
And mind you, when the forest essentially attacked him, you would have seen Val just look utterly horrified, genuinely shaken, reliving a very bad memory.
That's going to be an 8, John.
All right. And Argo has a 9. Okay. And you got a 14?
Yeah, Win has a 14.
All right, cool. Let me just roll really quick for this guy. Nice. God damn it. All right. So it is your turn, Val, since you are super prepared for this.
Is the vine that attacked him still in front of him, or is it pulled back?
Oh, the creature is still in front of him. There's like 3 tendrils attached to this wolf.
Then the first thing Val is going to do is start stumbling away, almost looking terrified, for lack of better words. As he does, it takes just a second for his eyes to start realizing what he needs to do. His hands have already pulled out his viol tune. He himself seems to settle out, gain his footing, gain his courage back. Wynn and Argo, you're also going to feel the similar effect, as if courage itself is gripping you. Heroism, 3rd level for all 3 of us. Sorry, Mouse, can't hit you too.
All right. When, as you kind of see everyone start to regain their footing, and you see this plant monster attack Vol and him give everybody some encouragement with his music, what do you do?
So Win has a quick flashback to the dream he had at the beginning of the day. And he remembers now the black wolf in the forest. And he knows now that the forest itself was the black wolf, not the actual wolves. He knows now that he is facing the death that was promised to him this day. And he takes in a deep breath, remembering affection's kindness to him earlier. And he begins to twirl around the shovel in his hands, moving in these large circular patterns in front of him. He never fights anything without knowing exactly what it is he's fighting and what his potential weaknesses are. And so he's going to quickly take the dodge action. Looking over his shoulder to see where the other wolves are, and then looking back at the vine creature, whispering under his breath, just another prayer to affection, to give him the charity, the kindness, the generosity he needs to protect his allies, and just to not die today.
All right. So are you attacking?
No, I took the dodge action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So yeah, you feel affections like just you just feel affections, warm blood just spreading all over you as your body seems to be attuned to not getting hurt today. Yeah. So let's go to Argo. So as you see Wen kind of preparing himself to get out of the way, and you saw Val take good hit. What are you going to do, Argo?
Argo's, after seeing this crazed thing attack Val right in front of him, and seeing this wolf creature in front of him, and knowing already, preparing himself for possibly having to face something like this, unfortunately, quite unceremoniously, he puts Wim down. Thump. He inhales a huge gulp from his pipe, which somehow still managed to be lit even after all of this running. And as he blows out smoke, it's almost a howl in and to itself, as the very smoke itself turns into this spear of frost and lances through the air at one of the tendrils that is actually coming from this wolf-like creature. And effectively, I am casting Ray of Frost.
All right.
So roll that beautiful beam footage. A natural 19, which is going to be a modified 24.
Yep, that definitely hits.
All right, then 2d8 frost damage. 5 points of frost damage.
All right. So yeah, you build up this frost and you lance it out, and it hits, and it just strikes this wolf, or this thing that used to be a wolf, and you just, but you don't see it react. It doesn't move. It doesn't act like it's wounded, and the impact of the ice against it makes the sound of like a woodcutter's axe going up against bark of a tree. You just hear that crunching sound, that unnatural sound that it shouldn't make when you hit something made of flesh. All right. So, Wim, you have just been put down, and I'm sure things are kind of spinning for you still, but you can clearly see that there is a danger ahead of you, and your friends are kind of in the thick of it. What do you do to aid or assist?
Wim kind of wavers on her feet a little bit and tries her best to assess the situation in her drunken state. You can probably only Argo can hear her because she's just so close to him, even if you took her off, but she just kind of mumbles under her breath, "Oh, Captain, looks like we have a new adventure." And with that, she's going to try to use Eldritch Blast.
Nice. Go for it.
So that's 13.
A 13 to hit?
I think it just has a save against that. It would be 13 points of damage. I think they have to...
You're doing an Eldritch Blast?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's just an attack roll.
That's a spell attack roll, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know those had those. I thought it just made a save.
No, it's an attack roll.
Okay. Is that made with charisma?
No, that's made with your spellcasting modifier.
So for her, it would be charisma. So charisma and proficiency.
Yeah.
That is a 21.
Yep, that definitely hits.
Okay, so I'll just keep the 13 damage from before.
All right, so you do 13 damage?
Yep.
Alrighty then. So you so you call upon Captain, and so you are a warlock, right?
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, you have what are you? Who's your patron?
I think we talked about the Undying Queen.
So you call out the captain, and you feel this rush of excitement flood through you. Partly yours, but partly definitely somebody else's. And you just feel the jitters of something new happening. But then you feel this rush of fire, this like binding, and this power. Like there's a million people helping you, reaching out and offering you just a little bit of help, but that little bit turns into this blaze of fire as you shoot it, and it scorches out of your hands, and it just ignites this beast, and you can hear it just roar in pain as it just ignites, and then the flames slowly die out, and you can see the grass that has grown over its body just burn to ashes, and then once the smoldering has stopped, sprout anew as flowers start to bloom all over it. But you can see that the beast has started to rise onto its legs, or what were its legs again. All right, so it is the monster's turn.
Oh boy.
Nice. All right, let me actually look. Okay. Oops. Nice. All right, and there are 4 of you. All right. So let's go with you. All right, so what is your AC, Wim?
14.
All right, so it just got above you. So as you light this beast on fire, you can see that it just focuses on you, and its tentacles just reach out, and one of them just lashes down at you, and you just barely manage to get out of the way. But as you dodge, another one just comes and just whaps you right on the side. And it is... That is terrible. Wow. Ugh. Okay, and it does 16 damage, and you really feel that as these, whatever these things are, feels like you have just been hit with a tree, for lack of a better word, as you just feel the splinters of the wood break off against your skin, and you can feel the breaking of some of your bones where it's collided against you, and you can feel like the bruising as it wherever it just touched you has instantly just erupted in pain. And Val, what do you see as you see this creature just lunge at Wim as she's lit it on fire? What do you do?
After finishing his spell, he's going to do his best to put the vial back in its place around its back and start throwing out insults. more or less calling it the same smell of elderberries, and trying to get its attention using vicious mockery.
All right. What does it have to do?
It does nothing. It's just getting hit for 7 points of psychic damage.
Mm.
It does need to hear me, but it doesn't have to understand me.
Fair enough. It knows that you said something about its mother. All right.
It will also have disadvantage on its next attack roll.
Fair enough. All right. So, as you see Val taking the unorthodox approach of insulting what looks like a tree monster, what do you do?
So I imagine the first thing Wynn would hear that would stop the spinning of his shovel is the screams coming from Wim as she's being battered half to death by the branch-like tentacles. And when he hears that scream, he turns over his shoulder and he sees her, and he takes in a sharp breath. And there's always been rumors about Wynn the Gravedigger. You know, they say he can cast these evil spells, that he speaks with the dead, that he can rise zombies and all that. But the truth is a lot more simple, but also a lot more brutal, as all three of his party members would see Wynn explode into motion almost supernaturally fast. He lunges at the wolf, moving too quick almost for the eye to follow, and he strikes out with the shovel, but he just barely misses because a tentacle is coming around to hit him at the same time, and they kind of bounce off as his first attack misses. But as he kind of skitters back, I like to imagine the wolf would like try to snap at him, or the tentacle would come through, and he kind of bends back with the smallest back and kicks up with his leg at the same time. And his second attack misses as he feels the bark and how hard it is, and he slams the jaw shut. And while he stops his head from being ripped off, he also stops it from, he finds that his leg is now kind of shaking down the tendons. And then kind of feeling how hard this thing is and realizing how strong it is, he turns on both of his heels almost too fast, taking the shovel in both of his hands, and he wants to bring the blade of it directly to the base of the skull. And that one was a 26 to hit for 8 points of damage, and he's spending a key point as he does so. So since it did fail to save, once the shovel hits the base of his neck, it's going to feel a vibration through his entire body, as several parts of its motor functions begin to shut off all at once, as I use a stunning strike on it, and it's going to be stunned until the next turn, I believe.
Nice. All right. So Argo, you see Wen just kind of shove off this illusion that he is this gravedigger and just start to go in with this martial prowess you have probably rarely, if ever, seen anyone do. And what do you do?
Barely having heard the whimper of Wim, he realizes that these tendrils are flying all around his head. Rather than actually ducking and dodging and trying to get out of the way, he almost seems to supplant himself in between himself and in between the beast and Wim, almost as though he's throwing his own flesh in the way to try and shield her much smaller frame. And no sooner than he does so, he takes in another massive gout, his chest puffing up. And as he exudes a puff of smoke this time, this pyrotechnic display just seems to light up the night sky, almost as though someone set off fireworks, and streaks towards the beast in a massive gout of flame. And I'm going to move forward my full movement 30 feet and interposing myself between Wim and the beast. And then I'm going to, let's see, that's going to be a modified 24 once again to hit. And it's 2d10 for flame strike, or flame bolt rather. And that's going to be 6 points of fire damage.
Oh, man. So, yeah, this creature, again, as soon as the fire just hits it, you can see it just spread all over its body. And Argo, you would know that the damage that you were supposed to have done seems to just, it seems to have taken more to it than it should have done. And you could just see the creature kind of recoil and what looks like pain, but as the creature opens its mouth, the only sound that you can hear is the sound of just trees shifting and bark being crunched together as some kind of roar of the forest almost kind of echoes out of it, but nothing earthly sounding. Something unnatural, something corrupted comes out of its mouth as it kind of wails and rolls around until the fire is gone and the vegetation begins to overgrow on its wounds. All right, so Wim, what do you have recovered from your beating, and you see Argo kind of putting himself in between you and trying to light the beast ablaze. What do you do?
She kind of recovers from her thing. She had just been thanking Captain for the support when she was kind of smacked in the face by this monster. She looks up and she sees Argo getting in between them, and for like almost like a second, like she flinches in fear for him. She kind of sees him setting the monster ablaze, and she realizes that, you know, this thing doesn't seem to like fire very much. So she kind of backs up and still sort of behind Argo, but coming out from the side, she's gonna try another Eldritch Blast. Let's see how that goes. That's 15.
15 to hit?
Yeah.
Oh, you definitely hit.
Okay. That's 22 points of damage.
Nice. All right. Holy shit, 22 points of damage.
Eldritch Blast isn't joking around.
I was like, wow, yeah, nice. Oh my god, 22 points of damage. Wow. All right, and what spell was that?
Sorry, it's Eldritch Blast. It's a cantrip. It does, at my level, it does 2d10 and plus my charisma.
Okay. Yeah, so again, you feel like all of these people inside of you just giving you a small bit of their power, but you can feel the like the family in it. You can feel like the love that's being put into you and the trust that they're giving you as they offer you a small bit of their power. And again, it burns bright and it just shoots out and just rams into this creature, and the creature just lets out this howl as you start to tear off one of its legs, and it starts to just kind of limp, and the power fades from your hands, and you can see the creature kind of just reeling as it tries to stand itself back up. And on its creature's turn, I'm going to go ahead and have it move at half speed as it is missing a leg, and it just tries to crawl like towards you guys, as if the damage has left its mission unfazed. It continues to try to attack you, but it's still reeling from the damage from when, and it just falls short and just can't bring the bones. It's like the nature has yet to replace the muscles and the ligaments that are attached to the bones, and it just can't physically reach for you yet. So Val, seeing the creature in such a weakened state, what do you do?
Seeing this, he's going to draw his rapier, and it's going to charge with electricity as he points at it and more or less just tugs it as if he's trying to pull the creature with a grappling hook. It's still stunned, correct?
Yep, you got advantage on that.
Lightning lore, it's a save, so it automatically fails. He's pulling it straight to his feet, and it's going to take 14 points of lightning damage.
Nice. All right, so you just see the lightning. So if you have ever seen a tree get hit by lightning, is what this kind of looks like. You stab your sword into this, and the bark on some of its flesh just explodes into fire and just splinters out all over the place. And the creature is just smoking from the inside and is screaming. And you can hear the planted forest. You can hear how much pain. It's almost like it's radiating through all of nature, the grass, the dirt under you. You feel it slightly rumble and ripple with pain as you send this arc of electricity through it. But it still stands and it still moves. What do you do?
Does anything below a 16 hit miss? Is a 16 a higher hit, I should say?
Yes.
Okay, so all the thing I put in the side chat is going to hit. So I want to describe it after I give the damage. It's basically 14, 23, 28 points of damage total that I'm doing to it because I'm putting a key point for this. So imagine that wind slowly turns. I like to say that the camera is like focused on his hand and the shovel in it. You can see bits of sap and amber and maybe what was once blood dripping off the edge of the shovel. And he's walking towards this wolf that's crawled past him, kind of dragging the shovel in the grass behind him. And then he completely disappears as he's jumped into the air, and he lands with a flip on this thing's back with a shovel in both hands. And as he's scooping up dirt to dig another body, he slams it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times into the base of this thing's neck, trying to rip the head from the shoulders, trying to scoop the skull out of the skin, trying to do whatever he can just to brain this monstrosity and bring it to the ground once and for all.
All right. And you are successful. So explain what it looks like when you just destroy this creature and the life that you felt within it just flickers out.
I imagine to people such as Wim or to Val, the sight of blood, while maybe a bit more common to city folk, in such large amounts, it might still be a little bit disturbing because there is blood and sap spraying everywhere. As you can see that Win is successful and getting deeper and deeper through this monstrosity's throat. And finally, he just shoves it down with a straight through the entire thing. You see the tip of the shovel go through the front of the wolf's neck, and he pries up with all of his strength. You can see the muscles rippling and bulging underneath his tunic, and then he rips the head off, heaving it above him on top of the shovel as the body collapses, and he just throws it deeper into the forest as he jumps and he lands in a crouch, his face and the front of his body just covered in this ichor as he slowly stands.
All right. So as you guys stand, or as you stand, and you guys see this creature it's done. It's no longer moving. It takes a moment for all the adrenaline to leave all of your bodies as you have just faced death today, and it's a creature that you've never seen before. And then another unusual thing happens. The creature completely decomposes and becomes a part of the earth again. And the place of which it goes into, it seems as if the earth was never disturbed at all. Almost as if the earth there were perfect, new, growing at a rate that is unheard of. And then nothing. But you do hear, as the violence has passed, crying, whimpering, the soft crying of children. And when you look around, you see that while you were battling, the wolves had successfully saved the children from any other further harm the forest might have done to them. And the silver-haired wolf kind of nudges the children towards you and then locks eyes with you, Wen, and nods her head and takes off, with the rest of the wolves into the wheat, going as far north, as far away from the planted forest as possible.
Wind cracks his neck. It's very loud, very audible. Shoves the shovel into the ground, and he walks over to where Wim is. And he goes to one knee and he says, "Let me see your wounds. Wim not teen."
She kind of nods and she gestures to where she had been struck.
And Win, he pulls back a bit of the armor, and you can see kind of like how when you got hit, it kind of got like shoved deeper into the skin and the flesh beneath. So it's almost like he's pulling your skin away. And he simply shakes his head and he wipes some of the ichor from his mouth and his eyes. And he looks back to Val, who I imagine might still have his rapier out, and he says, "You know how to heal, yes?"
I can, in limited amounts.
Those limited amounts are needed now. And he moves his head back and he indicates with his free hand for you to do whatever it is that you do to do your best to suture these wounds that Wim has suffered.
Wim just kind of looks over at Val like, please.
Val would definitely have walked over the Wim, putting the rapier up, and best to stitch wounds with cure wounds.
Charger?
Let's see. Exactly how far down are you in HP?
I'm about I'd say about half. Maybe a little bit more than half.
All right. Cure wounds. Health overall.
And what does the cure wounds look like to Win's eyes? Like, is it just like a magical light, or like the wounds just like close by themselves, or? Are you there, buddy friend Chris?
Give me just a second. I'm having some slight issues. You guys can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, so what did the cure wounds look like? Was it like a song? Was it like a poem? Like a light meteor shower? Dragon breath? Disembowelment?
Let's get all my stuff together.
Oh,
Make
God.
it it should be a haiku about how terrible her wounds are.
All right. So
It's
go ahead.
all right. It basically should be him tracing his hands over her wounds, fingers glowing with light, as he muttered odd incantations in understandable language. Just his own keywords and choice phrases.
All right. So imagine as the wounds kind of stitch themselves together, and it's probably still like some light to deep bruising where the wounds once were. Win steps up, and he says, "Weem, next time on guard duty, do not drink. I do not want to bury you yet." And he turns away from you. Do you have any response to that when he says that?
She just kind of like starts like nodding profusely. She's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm never gonna do that again. I'm so sorry.
And he doesn't really respond to the apologies or anything. You know that Win's just kind of the cold sort. And he goes and he picks up his shovel and he looks to Argo and Val and he says, "That thing," and it indicates to where just the normal growth of the forest is with the hilt of his shovel. It says, "That thing was magic. That thing was unique. That thing was death. You either of you two know what it was exactly."
I haven't even the foggiest. If it hadn't rotted away, I would have examined it, but...
And you see Argo, his eyes starting to water, and his lips pursed shut as he seems to have been holding this breath for just entirely too long. And then finally he opens his mouth and bellows, "The enemies of the Elf Queen!" And no sooner than he does it, this huge plume of smoke erupts from his mouth once again. And all of them stampede, taking on the shape of almost ephemeral elk as they dart and dance into the sky. As soon as they reach about 100 feet into the air, they just explode into a cacophony of light, lighting up the night sky, almost as though it's the pyrotechnic effect of fireworks at night, celebrating the death of this foul creature.
Wayne looks at you and he says, "That did not answer my question."
You asked the wrong question.
Oh
And then-
my god.
Wayne just kind of, he strokes his beard a little bit and he looks over, and the kids, I imagine, just standing there crying now, probably in awe and fear of what Agro just did to the sky above everybody. And Wayne indicates to them with his shovel and he says, "Val, perhaps you should play one of your songs with him."
So I will
Yeah,
say,
I think that'd be best.
Val, with your 22 to arcane knowledge, as you kind of look over and just you start going through your index of what you know about magic and what could possibly have created a creature like this, and you just start flipping through, almost mentally going through every single book that you have ever known, and you come across something, like you don't know what it is and you're not sure, but you have a hunch that if this has to be anything, it has to have come from the planted forest. It has to have. But not just that, there's this chill that runs down your spine as you live on the line, and the line is protected by death salt, and you guys are line cutters. And what that means is that you use death salt almost every single day. And death salt is a substance that sucks out the moisture and the magic of everything it touches. And there is literally a line of it that separates you from the planted forest. And the fact that its magic has corrupted a creature on the other side of the line changes everything. Something is happening in the planted forest. Something is going on. And you don't know what it is. There's no book that you have read that has ever said the planted forest can spread over the death salt. But it chills you. Just the thought of it chills you to the bone.
As Val's mind would have thought through these things, his hands would have started playing on the viol, mostly out of instinct, muscle memory. The song would have become slow, almost mournful, as his brain started reaching the darker and darker depths. After a few moments, maybe in a few minutes of playing, he would just stop all of a sudden, eyes seeming a little bit glassy.
So,
Slight bit of panic starting to form up from deep within.
all right. So, unless there's something else you guys would like to do here, you guys take the children back. You reunite Hoban with his daughter, and the celebration had kind of paused, obviously, with the children have gone missing. But with the reunion of Hoban and his children and the other two children that had gone missing, the celebration was renewed, centered around you guys as the heroes of Vomica. But Val, I have to ask you, did you share your findings with anybody? It might not be the party, but did you share it with anyone?
He would have made sure to double think it all in his head a few times over on the way back, not wanting to spread rumors or petty gossip.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been after the kids were returned, he would have asked the group to come with him to the mayor and then have discussed his thinkings and mullings.
So as you all discuss it, and the mayor tells you guys to put it out of your minds, it's not that big of a deal. Everything's fine. It was probably just a one-off, no big thing. But all of you have things that you take back as you turn in for the night. Val, you obviously have these things that are going through your mind as you think about your findings, and something is going on in the forest. Wim, your father has still not come home. And with creatures like this being able to cross the line, you fear for his safety. And you go to sleep tonight. Maybe you don't go to sleep tonight, racked with worry for your father. Argo, you have seen the return of the Wolf Queen's people, and you have heard your goddess speak to you and warn you that the Wolf Queen is at work, but you don't know why. Was it the wolves that she was talking about? Were those elves a part of the Wolf Queen's tribe? Or was it the forest? Was that part of the Wolf Queen's workings? You're not sure. And as you contemplate this, as you go to sleep, you just have this feeling that what the Elk Queen warned you about was neither of the two threats that you face tonight. And when you go to sleep tonight, you find that you are actually able to rest. But the dream of the Black Wolf persists. And this time, it ends in a death. And that is where we will end today. All right. That is it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and stop that here. Does anybody want to do any shout outs or say anything as we close out? Go ahead, Marquise.
All right. Again, I am Marquise Hardis. I have my YouTube channel, The Bold and the Beautiful Stereotypical Shriner. And most importantly, I am a third of a point of inspiration. Again, check us out on Facebook or our site, pointinspiration.com. I can put out stuff for you guys. As for announcements and stuff like that, this Monday, I'm running a game in Michael Barker, who's Be a Better Game Master. His World is going to be the first of a trilogy of games that I'm doing with him and a few other players of Inkea. And it's probably going to be a really fun game. I want you guys to kind of tune in and watch it because me and Barker have been working together a lot to kind of flesh out more of his setting for Absolute Tabletop. So if you're interested in that, come watch the game and everything. Join the Absolute Tabletop group. Talk to Barker yourself. He's a genius man, really fun to talk to. Other than that, fantastic game, Miles. I haven't played with Chris or with Mouse before. It was fantastic playing with you guys. Really fun time. And I'm excited for the second session.
All right. Ethereal?
All right, I don't really have a whole lot of shout outs. Basically, just this is once again the golden retriever of gaming, the one and only, the incomparable Ethereal. Once again, followed up, apparently, once again, getting thwarted by Marquise. But I had a hell of a game, man. I had so much fun getting back into the flow of things, and I cannot wait to go on ahead and see how much more our good man Argo fails to aggro everybody. Not aggro, but Argo. To see what he becomes next and how much and how well I can get him fleshed out as a full living, breathing, smoke bellowing character that he is.
All right. Mouse?
Hey, I'm known as Mouse. You can check out my YouTube channel, my DeviantArt or my Tumblr page. Goes under the name Ethelbutt. this has been a really good night. I really enjoy playing John's game. He does a lot of good work. I've been role playing with him for a while now. And I got to roleplay with a whole bunch of new people tonight who are all really awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing how all of our characters interact with each other and how Wim's character is going to progress from here.
All right, Chris.
All right. It was nice having fun game with you guys. It was absolutely inspirational. Sadly, I am probably the most boring of our group with not much to shout out to. But I definitely want to see how this is all going to turn out.
All right. So, yeah, that was it, guys. That was the very first episode of The Secrets of Vomica. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys had a good time. And, yeah, see you guys next time.